too, Nick. Did you see him hit bang a three
Brandon,
and then look
bet
at the
on him
bench?
now. Bet on him now, Rookie of the Year.
3 years, he'll
Bet
be
on
an
him now.
all-star. Rookie of the Year,
Rookie of the
100%.
Year.
Give me some advice. Give me some advice. 4
Bet
to
on
1.
him now. It's 4 to 1.
Got it.
Bet on him now. I'm already locked in on that.
Done. Bet.
Let's go.
There you
Let's go.
Bol, Rookie of the Year.
Tristan Wirfs, usually protecting Tom Brady. Thought that puppy was coming right at my dome. Eddie saying person. I couldn't read it. I'm sorry. Eddie saying person. Wouldn't be scared of Gronkowski. I'm moving around in the pocket. OKW is elusive. Here's why. Gronkowski, watch out. Now look at the background. Here's Tom Brady. Tom Brady's used to old Gronk spikes. He knows the perfect trajectory, always the headiest player. He knows what's going on. Like, this one's not going to get me. Tristan Wirfs very nervous. Even though he's got a helmet on still, it's still very nerve-wracking. So, Tristan Wirfs, don't worry. More Gronk spikes in your future, buddy.
3 NFL rule changes. 2 everyone supports. 1 I think we're going to start support of right now. Rule change 1. Brandon, wide receivers should get receiving yards for drawn pass interference penalties. Change the rules, NFL. Rule number 2.
That's cool.
Defensive players should get a sack for drawn intentional grounding penalties. Change the rule, NFL.
Good.
And most importantly, games that end on multilateral safeties, the safety should not be included in the final score to ruin people who had Cleveland +3 and deserved at least a push. Folks, you can't do this to us. This game ended at 11:40 at night. I woke up my family bellowing and crying. And I was on the right side of this game. To not give me a push here because of this hijinks, change the rule, NFL. Change it. Please.
That's great.
Honestly.
So great.
Retroactively.
I actually feel bad for you. I actually feel bad for you. All right, let's stick with this game. So if you watched it, if it stressed me out, I'm sure it stressed you out. Lamar Jackson was sliding all over the place. Every time he took a step, he was like, his ankle was sliding out. He still ran for like 3,000 yards. But still, you have to wonder, was it the cleats or was it something else? Bum, bum, bum. Now, I'm not saying it was Baker Mayfield who had anything to do with this. I'm not saying, even though this was the very lawn that he mowed in 35,000 different commercials that he shot this summer. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is that maybe it's a possibility. Not saying it happened, but a big fat maybe. There you go, Lamar. I just wanted to throw it out there, but I'm glad you played and you changed your cleats in the second half. Just said it. Let's talk some Green Bay Packers now. It's been a great year for these guys. Matt LaFleur could be Coach of the Year. His team is now the NFC's top seed. Aaron Rodgers could be MVP. He was nearly flawless on Sunday. And the remaining schedule, Panthers, Titans, Bears, well, it's not terrifying. LaFleur knows just how well his quarterback is playing right now. Take a listen to what he had to say.
Well, I think anytime you have just a group of players like we have, especially our quarterback, a guy of his caliber who, without a doubt in my mind, is should be the front runner for the MVP. I mean, he just does it consistently. Every time we go out on that field, it gives you a lot of confidence that you're going to come out with a victory.
Yeah.
All right, all that being said, Mahomes is still the favorite, Brandon. Mahomes is still the favorite ahead of Rodgers in the MVP race. But, Brandon, is the door still open for Rodgers to come in and steal this away from Patrick Mahomes?
Is it open? It's wide open. It's 50-50 at this point. Look, let me speak Nick Wright's language, okay? So, look, a couple weeks ago, I revealed this graph just to highlight a few things that I was trying to talk about. And Patrick Mahomes, I appreciate you responding to me last week. Look, I have a job to do. I love you, buddy. You're phenomenal. You can potentially go down as the greatest quarterback of all time. But right now, this is 50-50. So let's look at this graph, the first graph that I did. Let's take a look. So if you look at this first graph, this is what I said. You know, Russell Wilson was leading the way. And then, Nick, this is critical information. Russell Wilson just started throwing pick after pick after pick, and I think it was the Arizona game where he threw multiple picks in one game.
Yep.
So now you had to take him from being in front of the jet ski to being on the tube. And if you know anything about being on the tube, it's really wild back there. At any moment, you can take off. So that was Russell Wilson, and we had Patrick Mahomes leading. But now you have Aaron Rodgers that has now taken over the jet ski because of what Russell Wilson did. He threw multiple picks. You can't lead and be in the front of the jet ski if you throw 3 picks in one game and give up the longest sack in NFL history. Patrick Mahomes will tell you that, Nick.
Wow.
You can't do it. And then you have old Derrick Henry sitting right there, Wilds. And I know you love Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry sitting there. If he finishes with 2,000 yards, he should be the MVP. And then you have Josh Allen and Big Ben just sitting out there saying, guys, wait for me. Wait for me. This is how it pans out right
I
here.
thought that was Christopher
Load
Pratt.
bearing.
Yeah.
Wilds, I want to get your take on this because I feel badly. Brandon and I yelled at each other in the first segment. Old buddy, America's favorite rapscallion, Kevin Wilds, didn't even get to give his take. So I'm going to pause mine. Kevin Wilds, you go, please.
No, you know why you're pausing yours, because I agree with you. Your propaganda, your Chiefs propaganda that has infected my son has now infected me. I think that Mahomes is obviously the MVP. And I actually think it's unfair, Nick, that he should even have a bigger lead, but I think he gets penalized because the Chiefs are so good. Because Travis Kelce might be Offensive Player of the Year. Because Eric Bieniemy and Andy Reid are geniuses. Because Tyreek Hill is the fastest player in the NFL and doing backflips. I think it all hurts Patrick Mahomes. But Brandon, you talked about the 30-yard sack and the 3 interceptions. When you watch that game, you're like, this guy's the best. Even though he's making mistakes, they're still impressive mistakes. Like the 30-yard sack, I'm like, wow, that's impressive. I'm going to argue that the 30-yard sack actually helped his MVP case. He's like, he's doing things I've never seen before. He's that confident. So, Nick, I appreciate you passing me the ball here, but I'm going to pass it right back to you. I think Mahomes is obviously the MVP.
Nick.
So I am actually.
Nick, sorry. I'm sorry to do this, Nick.
Yeah, go.
Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I just want you, because I think it got lost with the graphic. I just did what you did, right? When Russell Wilson, when he lost the MVP race, right? When he threw it three picks versus the Arizona Cardinals, that's all I did. I laid that up for you. Patrick Mahomes, he just threw 3 picks. That's why I have Aaron Rodgers now leading. So I was really going off of your take a couple weeks ago.
No. I get it. And by the way, I'm not even as strong as Wilds that Mahomes is clearly the MVP. Right now, with 3 weeks left, I think Mahomes is the leader. I think Brandon's jet ski is wrong. I think Mahomes is the leader. But I think it is close because, as people know, because of my just lifelong commitment to take integrity and the fact that I really just use this television show as a vehicle to audition to various leagues to actually get votes I so clearly deserve, I last year refused to say LeBron was the NBA's MVP because the numbers said it had to be Giannis. So I take this very seriously, even though it's a make-believe vote that no one will give me. So when you look at the numbers, completion percentage, yards per attempt, and turnovers, they are dead even. Mahomes is killing him in yards, and Rodgers is ahead substantially in touchdowns and interceptions. Both teams are #1 in their respective conferences. Granted, the Packers have 3 losses to the Chiefs 1. So why do I have Mahomes ahead instead of it being a coin flip? It is because of that same thing about the multiple turnovers. But the important qualifier is this. When Russell Wilson had his multiple turnover game, he wasn't able to overcome it. The Packers have 3 losses this year. 2 of those losses, Aaron Rodgers has turned the ball over multiple times. To the Colts, he threw a pick and he fumbled. In the Tampa game, that game turned on his 2 mistakes. Mahomes has 1 bad game this year. And in that game, he led the Chiefs to a 20-point third quarter and a 20-point lead en route to a comeback victory. So if Russell Wilson had those turnovers back when he was still in the conversation against Arizona, but then they had won the game in overtime, instead of him throwing the pick to lose the game in overtime, it wouldn't have hurt him as much. Right now, the deciding factor to me is this. Both Rodgers and Mahomes have had one game they would really, really want back. The Tampa game for Rodgers, the Miami game for Mahomes. Mahomes was able to, after having a horrific first quarter with 2 picks and a 30-yard sack, still throw for nearly 400 yards, 2 touchdowns, leads team to victory. Once Rodgers threw those 2 first-quarter picks, he and his team folded. What'd they score in that game? 10 points? So to me, that's the distinguishing point. But Mahomes has no nationally televised games left, Jenna. Rodgers has Carolina and then